had absolutely no clue how much things cost, how much information you need to give, how much information you will get back. Hello everyone, welcome back to Space for Edit. On this channel we talk about all the things that they don't teach you in design school, but you kind of need to know in the real world. And in today's video I wanted to talk about the juicy stuff, the stuff that they definitely don't talk about and teach enough or at all in university and in design school, and that is schedule of works, budgets, quotes, quoting processes, what do you actually have to do and how much it actually is going to cost for you to create these beautiful designs. Okay, so like I said, every project has got a budget, a scope of works and a timeline that we all need to work on and that the wider design team has to work with. Now, what does this consist of? So the schedule of works is basically a massive long list. Well, it could be a small list. It really depends on the size of the project and the amount of work that you as a designer will actually take on. So to provide this budget quote for your client that consists of all the prices that you have gathered, you will have to reach out to your reps, you will have to reach out to contractors and get their quotes back to you so you can put it all together in one document, and at the end of the whole list you will see the beautiful juicy amount that it comes to. Sometimes it's not as beautiful, sometimes it's very painful to actually look at those numbers, but we live in a real world, things cost money, good design costs money. Even if you are being crafty, you just have to face the reality, and numbers are numbers. You can always work with them, you can always value engineer, as we like to say, so prices can always go lower, spec can always go lower, so that will affect the cost. But today we are not talking about all of those tricks. Today we are focusing on what do suppliers quotes actually look like and what do they consist of. So depending on the size of the project and depending on the amount of work that you are taking on as a designer, you will have to get certain types of quotes. So these could be either building works, decorations, electrics and plumbing, and FF&E quotes. In order to get this information to you, you will have to provide some information in advance, obviously for the specialists, for the trades to send back their prices to you. So we are going to be looking into 3 different quotes. One will be for building works / decoration works. Then I've got a lighting quote and I've got a furniture quote that we can look into, just to kind of show you an example of what information is usually included in this and what will you get as a designer, what you will have to work with. But I just feel like if you've never really seen this before or want to kind of have a little sneak peek and look into what these quotes consist of, then at least it's a good example to see an actual real document. Now, if you have any questions about the things that we are talking today, make sure you put them in the comments below, or even if you want me to make a video on something a little bit more specific and go into more detail into some of these things, then definitely let me know. I'm here for it. Always want to make content that really relates to you and that you can learn from and soak up the information from. Right. That's it. I'm going to do a few voiceovers and kind of really just go through those quotes in detail. So let's look into it, shall we? So what I've got here is 3 types of quotes, one for furniture, one for lighting, and one for decorations. So you can see all of them are quite different, and that's the reason why I picked them, because each supplier has got their own way of putting these quotes together and formatting them, and the information that they include, the detail that they include is different as well. So we'll start with furniture, and this quote was actually for an office project that I did. So you can see that there will be sections where the furniture has been sectioned off. So this is the boardroom, then we have reception area, we've got the office, kitchen, only a small section, staff room, and I think that was it. Yes, and then delivery. And so if I zoom in, the heading of the actual quote usually has got details, whether it's some kind of a quote number reference that the company uses. There will be logo, invoice address, and delivery address. So obviously invoice address, that will be the designer's address, and the delivery is where the project is actually happening. Any project references, notes, and quote contact. So that is the person who actually created the quote. So let's have a look through the boardroom furniture. I'm not going to go through all of the furniture, but just so you kind of understand what's going on. Very handy if the quotes have got pictures. Some of them don't, as you will see with the next one, and it is a little bit confusing. It can be quite confusing, but very handy if the quotes have got photos so you know what your item looks like. Then you usually have some sort of a description box, which in this case is called specification. So there they have allowed for their reference number that they use within their own systems, within their company. So to me as a designer, that doesn't really give me much information, but for them as a supplier, that's like a reference point. So for me as a designer, this is a better reference than these numbers. So the specification usually includes the finishes. Let's say this chair here, it's got a metal base in chrome finish. The seat is upholstered in fabric. Here's the fabric that it's upholstered in. Seckers, that is the supplier. Quilto 17, that is the collection. And Powder is the color reference. So same with the back upholstered in fabric. So that's a different kind of fabric. That's a different supplier, agua, diamond, taupe, or chocolate. So on this particular chair, we were still in discussion, but because it's the same collection, the diamond collection, the color really doesn't matter when you are talking about the price, because usually the same collections cost the same. Later on, when it gets to actually ordering the whole thing, the supplier or the rep would just come back to the designer and just double check these things and update the quote and reissue again. More with CHMR foam. So that's the type of foam that will be used for the seat pad and the back and fitted with casters. And then some dimensions. All is quite very neatly referenced. This is probably a very good example of how furniture quote should be. Then there's another section for quantity. So how many pieces do you need of this? Then there's a unit price. So that's a single price. So this single chair would cost you £399. 56 pence, but because you need 8 of them, then you would be paying just over £3,000 for all of them. So you can see how quickly all of this starts to mount up. And even here you can see there's bespoke cushions. Again, we've got all the sizes, all the dimensions, the fill foam, upholstery, what we use, quantity, cost, and cost for all. Same if we are talking about like side tables or even desks or bigger tables. All the dimensions are here. Matte laminate top finish to be confirmed. Again, this was up for discussion, but at least we have the reference in there that it's going to be a laminate top. With straight edge finished as the top. Solid oak legs finished in factory standard. To be confirmed, the solid oak legs can be finished in all kinds of stains. This stage we still didn't have that kind of detail, and that is absolutely fine. They just allow within the cost for the legs to be stained, fitted with plastic glides, and again your rough dimensions, not rough, specific dimensions of the actual table. So that's basically what usually a furniture quote looks like. If we roll all the way down, going, stuff room. Oh, here's maybe a little thing that I can point out. Sometimes when you don't order a table that's already as like one unit, this actually happens quite a lot. It's probably the first thing that we do. We order table base and tabletop separately. So this was a square table, so you get a square table base. That's how usually I like to work. I think round table bases look quite awkward on square tables, but you know, each to their own. So separately you will have a cost for the table base as well as separate cost for the table lick. And when we get to the bottom of the quote, there is usually obviously a cost for delivery and install. So this means that the company that supplies this furniture will come, deliver, they will install the furniture, so place it, and they will take away all the packaging as well. Make sure that your quotes always say that, whether they are doing that or not, because if you are left with loads of cardboard boxes and plastic covers and all sorts of things, then that's actually another issue, and that's another cost that you need to think of. So what does this delivery include? Delivery charge will be confirmed upon receipt of full delivery address and below information. So at this point, I haven't given them the actual address of the project. Sometimes we like to keep it kind of secret just for the privacy purposes. And then you can see they need more information as required delivery time. So when does it have to be on site? Delivery method, full delivery and installation, just a drop off or pallet drop off. So they give you the options here, what they can do. So sometimes if you want to do the installation yourself, you're more than welcome. They will just drop it off and you can crack on. But I would always suggest if they offer installation, then go for it. Site access and restrictions. So this is a big one that needs to be discussed when you are talking about the delivery costs here, because let's say this office was in a big building and it was on the 5th floor. The access will be completely different than if it was on the ground floor. So they don't have to go through lifts or staircases, and it's just more complicated getting up to the 5th floor than it is on the 1st. So make sure you discuss that as well. Floor levels, again, kind of similar to the access restrictions. And is there a requirement of RAMs and CSCs? So these are all health and safety details that they have to then gather and pass on to the project manager or to the lead designer. As you can see, there isn't a price allowed in there for, because there was still quite a lot of items missing, a lot of information missing. So if I was to issue these costs to the client, I would definitely allow for some extra money on top of that, because I know that I will need some allowance in here. And then at the end of all quotes, usually you have just some more information that basically covers the supplier's back. So on this quote, they have specified that the lead time of most of the furniture will be 7 to 9 weeks, depending on upholstery and excluding summer factory closures. So this is something as well that happens a lot. So usually the UK suppliers buy furniture from anywhere around Europe, whether Portugal, Italy, France. But what happens in Europe, they close their factories for, I think, either a month or 2 weeks at some point in August. So basically all the production stops. So you need to be aware that if you are placing orders during that time or just before, that is going to affect your lead time. Payment details, here they say that they require 50% deposit to process the order. When you are placing the order with them, then you would have to put a 50% deposit down of the total cost. So that would be roughly 16 grand. Oh, there is deposit. There you go. Deposit 16 grand. And the balance to be cleared in 5 days before the fulfillment of the order, i.e. delivery or collection. Bank account details, obviously that's all personal information and any notes. So that's that. Oh, and of course we've got the small print as well. Terms and conditions. So they've looked at definitions, general quotes and prices. So this would be that, how long the quote is valid for. Specification, any kind of detail around the specification, just really people covering their backs, which is absolutely fine. I would expect every company to cover their backs. Deposit and balance payments, checking of quotes, order confirmation, alterations and cancellations, and deliveries, invoicing, claims, lifetime guarantee, special terms for production of bespoke furniture. So this is basically something that they add on to every single quote. So their backs are covered, their client backs are covered, and everyone is on the same page. Okay, so moving on to lighting, short and sweet. So if we zoom in, again, you can see we've got some information of the address. I believe this was the designer's details, some logos, date when the quote was issued, client, so the designer's details, project number and project. So this is again more reference for the supplier so they can use it within their own team. So like I said before, it would be very handy if instead of reference here, they would add another section with photo. Again, description, very plain, very simple. Quantities, cost by unit, and then total cost altogether. So you can see pendant, wall light, down light. I believe I went back to the supplier and just asked for a little bit more clarity. At least if it's just a pendant, then please give me a description of it, just so that I know that we are all on the same page and we are relating to the same piece. And then we just go down, delivery service, sweet, short, simple, no terms, no nothing included. Total excluding VAT. So obviously if you are a bigger company, then you can claim VAT. And then the total, just over £2,000. The reason why I do like to use these is that they are very affordable. Very affordable. They might lack on the information that they provide, but they are super affordable and lovely client service, so keep going back to them. Then let's move on to decoration. Now this one's a little bit more trickier, a little bit more detailed, so bear with. This is a part of our job, unfortunately. As you can imagine, there's a lot of information that will come your way when you are quoting a project, when you are gathering all the costs. So you know what, I'm just hitting you with a real deal here. This was a restaurant project, an Italian restaurant that we worked on, and basically this quote will allow for all the decoration. There wasn't any like structural building work, so it was more like just decoration and building interior walls, doing flooring, lighting, and electrics, plumbing, stuff like that. So this is what we would call the contractor quote. Contractor being whoever is doing all the works, all the decorations, and carrying out the work on site basically. So you can see here at the heading there, it's a budget proposal. This means that, again, the costs are still quite up in the air. It has not been discussed in detail. There might be some interior detail missing. Usually we start with a budget cost proposal, and then we can kind of gauge from the client whether we need to allow for more or whether we need to shave some off, and then we move into more detailed costs as well. So here you can see we've got quote number, obviously there was logo, some details, addresses and things like that, client name, contact details, project number or project name, site location, date that the quote was issued, and the estimator. So the furniture supplier had this type of information at the bottom of their quote, whereas these guys have started with this information. So let's see what they say. We have based our quote on a good open access to site and work to be carried out on ground floor. If not, additional costs will be incurred. So there you go. Again, access is very important to everyone. We require a lead time of nominally 6 weeks from order, and work on site to take nominally 4 weeks. So this is 6 weeks from order is placed, and then they will actually need 4 weeks on site to actually deliver the project. Lead time and installation date to be confirmed prior to order. So all of that information needs to be in place before you make any official orders. Any order received against this budget proposal would be subject to a full site survey, after which costs and lead times will be confirmed. So again, like I said before, it is a budget quote. The contractor at this point hasn't been to site. They've only seen our drawings and visuals. They really need to go to site to really check it, and I would always strongly advise all of your contractors to go to site before you place orders with them, because they can see things that you can't. Trust me, you want them to see all of those things. Okay, so let's zoom in. Brief specification of works. Random note placed here. I would have placed that before this, but let's just say. So note payment terms as follows: 33 cleared payment on order. So as you place the order, you need to pay 33%. 33% cleared payment prior to delivery, and then remaining balance on completion. There you go. this one's more broken down because obviously between placing an order and actually completing the project, there's a lot going on. So they are breaking down their costs a little bit more. So all the items are numbered. We don't have that many, to be honest. This quote is quite, I'd say for a contractor quote, is quite short, and for the works that were included and involved. So preliminary costs, these usually are all the health and safety, project management, any housekeeping, like bits and bobs that they don't really point out separately. They just kind of allow them within one cost. If you do want a breakdown of it, you can obviously ask them for it, but usually we just leave it as is. We just trust them to have allowed for all the things that they need to allow for. So this could include even their team staying over somewhere in a hotel nearby. Then moving on to flooring, to prepare and screed existing floor where required, no strip out allowed for, and lay Polysafe standard PUR vinyl to rear and counters and vinyl to front of house up to a cost of £30 per square meter. So you can see that again there is some sort of a clarity of what the product will be, and for the front of house we don't really know what the product will be, but we know that we are trying to fit within a budget. So there we have £9,000, just over £9,000 for flooring only, and that's without strip out. So you can imagine how easily that could add up if the strip out was even included. Then we go on to decoration. I'm not going to really read through everything. It's quite similar. Some things are specified, some things are, again, there's just a budget allowance. You can see up to £20 per square meter cost. Location to be confirmed by a designer. Again, we have a lot of things that still need specifying, still need detailing. So we had a servery counter, so this was coming out from the kitchen. We had back bar counter, we had the front of house bar counter, back bar counter, so that's the front of house bar. And this is interesting as well, that's always specified what the counter is going to be made of. Oops, I don't want that. Oh well, we'll leave it there. And again, you can see there's a note really covering their own backs, full design to be confirmed prior to the final cost being accepted. So everyone's very smart. They are covering their backs, and fair play, because that indicates to me that, okay, I need to take note of this and we will have to go over it again at a later date. So it kind of helps everyone. Decorative dividing wall. So we had this sort of glass wall, factory style, rustic style wall, which is obviously a separate item. And at the end of it all, we have installation. So to deliver and install above shipping items, including travel, hotel, and site survey. Okay, so they have actually included the site survey, travel, and hotel in here instead of prelims. So that's another chunk of money there. And total, excluding VAT, is just over £50,000. So contractors love to state exclusions. So this is all of the things that they haven't allowed for, which again, helpful, but need to be paid attention to. So unless otherwise stated, the following exclusions will apply. Works outside normal working hours, statutory approvals, damp-proof treatment to floors, mechanical and electrical works. So this shows me that I need to look at some engineers that will come and do all the electrics and power. Welfare facilities, assumed to use clients' facilities. So again, that's something that they might need to hire out if there's no facilities on site that the team can use. Installation of beverage and vending equipment. Usually this is done by the client because they have their own contacts, and designers usually don't really get into that. But there have been projects where we do supply that as well, and then we deal with that. Specialist lifting equipment, offsite parking, scaffolding, hygienic clean upon completion. So this is sometimes even called the builder's clean. Oh no, we allow for a builder's clean down. So it's not really the proper clean, like they say, hygienic. Storage costs caused by the delay to the program of works. Removal of asbestos. This is a big one. Always we need to, before we start any work or anywhere that involves decoration, ripping out floors, ripping out walls, changing anything like that, we need to make sure that there's no asbestos. On or off-site security of equipment outside of working hours. Okay, and for notes, what do we have here? All prices exclude main contractors, discounts and retention. Fortnightly evaluations completed. So basically, again, they're saying that the costs could change just because of time and fair play. All prices subject to VAT. Quoted are valid for a period of longer than 6 months. If any M&E is included, we now probably have installation to be 1 meter. So again, just the electrics bit that they haven't really allowed for a proper electrics install. The company cannot be held responsible for the working order of any equipment that has to be moved, altered as part of the project. So again, just covering their own backs. And good job that they have. So there you go. 3 quite different quotes, and obviously these are just 3 of them. So usually what other quotes we would have, so like I said, there could be some plumbing works or works with the power and electrics, so that would be a different supplier. Furniture, lighting, any equipment. If we are installing a restaurant kitchen, there could be obviously equipment, all the fryers and fridges and things like that. Yeah, so there could be loads and loads of other costs included that we just need to pile on top of each other and end up with the final result. Okay guys, so that's the lowdown, that's the juice on all of this. What did you think? I feel like when I first started, fresh out uni, I had no clue. I had absolutely no clue how much things cost, how much information you need to give, how much information you will get back. And actually, us as designers, we are spending a lot of time going over these numbers as well. We need to make sure that client's budget fits the amount of money that we see on those quotes that add up to the total value, and it is quite challenging most times. I'm yet to have a project where the budget is never ending and the sky's the limit. I'm sure that day will come, but for now, budgeting and creating these quotes is probably one of the most challenging parts of the job, because you want to make sure that the design that you have provided and you have presented to the client is the actual design that they're going to get. Most of the times it has to be a little bit of a watered down version, just being honest. That's what we do daily, but it's the life of the designer and that's the challenges that we face. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful. There's some videos on the sides here and playlists that you can watch if you want to watch more, and also if you want to learn more, if you want to connect on a more personal level, make sure you follow me on Instagram. I kind of tend to overshare there a little bit too much, but hey ho, that's what Instagram's for, right? So if I don't see you there, then I'll see you in the next video. Bye.